Namaste, good morning. Welcome to direct taxation classes at Bharatwaj Institute for May 26, September 26, and Jan 27 examination. To start this class on an auspicious day is by itself the first step towards success. Well, before going into the introduction about the subject, I just want to brief you on what I expect from you and what you can expect out of the classroom. First, let me tell you what are all the fundamental things I expect out of you. One, regularity to classes. The first thing I look for from you is regularity. My dear friends, if you are in and around Chennai, I would definitely request you to come in person and attend classes. On a very rare day when it is heavily raining, or on a day where you have to immediately go to your auditor's office or client office, I understand you attending online if you are in Chennai. But if you are very much in Chennai and taking online as an option of convenience, my dear friends, I just want to tell you, please stop that practice, come to classes. You don't, the experience of physical classroom, that is in-person classes, can never be replaced. Having said that, if you are not in Chennai, and my dear online students, I will ensure that you almost get the same experience as much as you are sitting in the classroom. People who are seeing this as recording, also be sure that it is my fundamental thought that even when you are seeing a recording, you are as if it is sitting in the classroom. So be regular, do not miss classes. I know there are a lot of hurdles that would be there in this entire process, including we are in the winter session, so rains might be a small hurdle for you not to attend classes, but we should fight it out. That's all there in the mind. That's what I believe out of my experience. It's there in the mind, so fight it out. Second, you might feel that work. Initially, I thought when the classes were announced, I was thinking that the September 30th, the due date, once it gets over, you will all be more free and start attending the classes. Your focus will be only on examination. But Madam Nirmala Sitharamanji has extended the due dates to October 31st. But majority of the work, I believe, should have been done. So October technically should not be a very, very busy month, but I know about filing, etc. So if at all you have some issues, please let me know. But otherwise, no reason should prevent you from attending classes. No reason should prevent you. You should get motivated, because whatever recording, whatever backup you have, attending the classes as and when it happens always have an extra advantage. These recordings are just backups. Suppose I miss a class, even I will not go to that level itself. Suppose in a concept I want to listen once more and get a clarity. At that time, these recordings might come in handy with you. But otherwise, recordings are just backup Do not rely on recording. Do not rely on recording. Please attend physical. Why I am saying do not rely? Of course, it is the same, but recordings have it only as a backup and not as a forefront. That's why I am saying this. So the first thing I expect from you is regularity of classes. The second thing I expect from you is punctuality. If the class is at 6, it will start at 6. Of course, extraneous reasons are different. But if the class is at 6, we should start at 6. By 5:55, if you are here only, you will be able to get that warm up. Even if you are an online student, by 5:55, if you log in only, you will be getting that warm up time for 5 minutes so that we are straight away. If you join the classes at 6:05 or 6:10, be it coming to the class or joining the class little late, you are not only confusing yourself, but you are also confusing one other person to whom you are seeking notes or to whom you are getting the update of what happened in that 5-10 minutes. It is possible. So be punctual. My dear friends, they would have given you, the institute would have given you 2 notebooks. For all those who are attending online, along with the material, I'll assure you to send you the notebooks also, 2 notebooks. For people who are going to see this as a recording, ensure that you have 2 notebooks in your hand when you are watching the lectures. So coming back, you would have been given 2 notebooks. One notebook is exclusively for theory. Another notebook is exclusively for practical workings. Please follow this discipline. One notebook is exclusively for theory. Another notebook is exclusively for practical. Though I have the 530-page theory material ready for you to be given to you, and you can use this. But I want to tell you something. We are going to write the theory once in the classroom. Majority of the theory, I am going to give a condensed version of it. What is 500 and odd pages here? When it comes to you as a condensed material in your notebook, it will be approximately 200 pages. This will be the biggest benefit, because when you turn the notebook, it is in your own handwriting. When you turn the notebook, the revision becomes simpler. Whatever is the theory, we are going to condense it to the examination intention, to the ability of retaining it for the purpose of examination and presenting. So, my dear friends, ensure that you are maintaining these 2 notebooks very well. Maintenance of notebooks is going to be the key factor for your examination. I will tell it very often in the classroom. Your notebook has to be maintained well. What do you mean by my notebook has to be maintained well? Have properly written. The proper stationery kit is going to make a lot of difference for our success. Now, you're on the verge of completing articles. Some of you completed articles. After a span of so many years, you would have completed college. After that, articles. As far as I'm concerned, I have traveled a long distance, but till now, if I ask you myself, or if you ask me, or I ask you, what is the best place of learning? we will always say our school. Be it for you, be it for me. The best place of learning is school. Nothing can match. We would have done after that. I have seen engineers, doctors traveling a lot of institutions across the world. But the emotion they have with their school is something very different. That's the best place of learning, because we learn to the best way. Become a school student, become a kid. After all, we all want to do that. Become a school student. Do not shy to carry in your stationery kit 2 pencils, eraser, different color pen, highlighters, staplers wherever essential. We will use it. These will make your notebook, if you use this and write, your notebook will also become your biggest support for the examination. Don't write in a way of shabby manner. Maintain the notebook very well. Maintenance of notebook is the key factor of success of many of the students I have seen. Out of experience also, I am telling, I am sure you would have also experienced those people. So maintain your notebook well, it will have an impact. It will have an impact on your preparation. So from you, the fourth aspect I look for is good classroom participation. Keep interacting. Even if everything is wrong, I also know you are here not from the sky. You are here to learn. If you know everything, there is no intention of you to come to the classroom. You are here because you want to learn. So learn that way. Keep interacting in the classroom. That is very essential to make the classroom interesting, to get the knowledge flowing into you. Nothing wrong, even if all the points you said is also not matching. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. After all, it's between you and me. At the end of it, what matters is success. So be sure that interaction will bring you more success. So the four factors which I look for from you, the four factors are regularity, punctuality, good maintenance of notebook with supported with a proper stationery kit, 2 notebooks as I said, and participation in the classroom. These are the only four aspects which I expect from you. The give back from me is 60 plus in this particular subject. The give back from me is exemption in tax. I'm not talking out of the hat. I'm not talking out of the hat. This exemption is very much possible. Very much possible. I'll tell you how as the class goes by. And I am always available to you. What starts today, for some of you might have started in inter, but what starts today is the real bandhan that I will carry all along. Whenever you have a doubt, whenever you are having some difficulties, just text me, WhatsApp me, just send a text or a voice note. I will definitely attend to that and solve it with a small request. I'm a very poor memory person. God has not blessed me with great memory. So, majority of the time in the classroom or when I am in some work or in a program, I would have seen the message. I would store that I should reply to that later and I would have forgotten. Don't get worried. Don't feel how to again ask it. Please take the liberty of putting that message again and saying, boss, you have not answered this, and I will ensure that I answer that. I wish, I request you to support me and come over to help you out. This is not only for you clearing the examination, post your examination also. I'm always available for tax discussions and anything, any discussion for that matter. As you go by, you will also be able to understand me better. I will also be able to communicate with you in a better manner. Well, friends, our how we are going to approach the subject, how I am going to deal with it. Well, I am dividing our entire study pattern into 4 parts. I am dividing our entire study aspects into 4 parts. Okay. Well, this is not for your writing. I'm just taking up. Okay. Sorry. I am dividing our classrooms into 4 parts. Okay. How? Okay. Just listen to this. Okay. Part 1. Sorry, friends. Classroom coverage, part 1 will be starting from PGBP. We will be also doing capital gain, IFOS. Remember, my dear friends, salaries and house property are not part of our final syllabus. It is not a separate module. Having said that, I would definitely cover those things as a part of, for example, when we are working out various types of practical questions, there will be a house rent received. There will be some salaries received at the time of individual. So I will definitely cover. I assure you that I will cover this. Okay. Deduction. And then going into and assessment of entities. And assessment of entities. Remember, my dear friends, as I cover these things, when we go into these things, sorry, friends, the ships did not work out. So I will take this as part 1, part 2. In the initial part, PGBP, capital gain, IFOS, okay, income from other sources, deductions, and assessment of entities. This is the major part of our syllabus. This is the, when I say assessment of entities, I will say that firm, I will start with firm, companies, trust, individuals, societies. All these things will be covered as a part 1 of our study. All these things will be covered in the part 1 of our study, which will approximately take 2 months. My dear friends, as I said, salaries and house property are not part of the syllabus, but when we do a firm question, company question, individual question, I'll touch upon. We cannot leave it as it is. The largest population paying taxes is still that salary clause. May not be the largest collection, but the largest population. Remember, friends, you need to wait till I touch this level. You need to be patient till I touch this particular level. Stay patient. Why I am saying this is there will be lot of ambiguities. There will be lot of ambiguities till then. But once I hit that assessment of companies, from there on, your understanding will be much better. From there on, your understanding will be much better. So I request you to be calm, patient, till I touch upon assessment of companies. Right. Without. This is part 1 of our discussion. Part 2 will be TDS, TCS, advanced tax, and miscellaneous areas. Okay. Though you will see this as a smaller part, but remember, this area also has very interesting marks. Part 3 will be assessment procedures, right from return filing, and it will go to penalty. Right from return of income till penalty, assessment procedure. And the last interesting, most required part is international taxation, which carries 30 marks minimum. Which carries a minimum of 30 marks. This is how our classroom is going to progress. My aim, personally, my aim is out of this 30 marks, I should be able to make you score 20 marks. Over ambitiously, I can even say 25 marks, but I want to be grounded. I should be able to make you score 20 marks so that from the remaining 70, 40 becomes simpler. So we will hit at 60. Ambitiously, I am looking for more than 60, but minimum 60 is possible. Minimum 60 is possible if we go in this particular fashion. So our classroom is going to progress like this. 20 marks, and then, as I said, have patience till I hit at this point. Once I hit there, from there everything is exam. Till that time, you will be reading in part by part every provision. You will always have a doubt. What is the point of reading part by part by part by part? I want you to understand the parts first before consolidating the whole aspect. So my request will be to wait till I get to that particular level. Once I get to that level, it will become easier. So this has been my approach. Do not worry. Leave the rest to me. Let us plan it. Without wasting much time on these things, we can speak all these things while the class is in progress. Let us start with the subject. Introduction. Today's class is focusing on introduction Introduction to income tax. Today's track, okay, as such, we can also call it as direct taxation. Introduction to income tax. Before going into introduction, what we need to today first understand, which is also part of our syllabus, is interpretation of statutes. Interpretation of statutes. What is this? It is the statement made by Lord Denning, one of the greatest lawyers, advocates of all time, that law cannot be drafted with enormous precision. There will always be ambiguity. It is not drafted by God. It is drafted by humans, which will have a lot of ambiguity. We need to understand it depending upon the various aspects for which it is created. So, no law can be with the enormous precision. It is the statement that there is no divine precision and we cannot expect a perfect clarity. Defects will always be there. Defects will always be there. How we attend to the defects and how we are able to make good of it will only make the. So came this interpretation of statutes. There are some rules which the general clause, it's not only for income tax law, where the general clauses law gave some rules and we have to go with those rules. Literal construction. If plain reading is sufficient to understand, then it should be left as it is. My dear friends, what is this rule of literal construction? By reading a sentence, if you are understanding a meaning, leave it as it is. For the purpose of interpreting, don't interpret. Literal construction, a plain reading, whatever meaning it gives, will be superior, and that should only be considered. Friends, our entire syllabus, our topics are divided into, or our case laws are divided into two. Those which are relevant for your examination, which institute gives, not me. Institute provides those case laws, which is part of our material, which we will write it in the classroom also. Okay. But there is another set of case laws, which is for our knowledge and understanding of the subject, which we need not write it. But when we are doing it, if that example will help. So you don't search for that case law, neither in material, not in the institute material, etc., for your understanding purposes. Let me talk about literal construction. My dear friends, our TDS provisions are divided into section 192 and 194. We all know. Our TDS provisions are divided into section 192 and 194. What is it? Section 192 is about salaries, though there is another PF, but let's for a minute. And 194, all other TDS provisions. In section 194, there is a specific words called tax needs to be deducted either at the time of payment or at the time of credit, whichever is earlier. Once more, shall I repeat? Tax needs to be deducted either at the time of payment or at the time of credit, whichever is earlier. That is section 194. Whereas section 192, salaries, tax should be deducted only at the time of payment. I will give you an example. Provision for audit fees. Provision for audit fees. What entry will you pass in your books of accounts? Audit fees account debit to outstanding audit fees of the firm. To tax payable. Suppose if provision for audit fees is 5 lakhs. Audit fees account debit 5 lakhs. To the firm name 4,50,000 to tax 50,000. Because it is credited first, even though it is paid after the audit is over. Sometime after that also it is not getting paid. Whereas one other example which you will be very much seeing in your office, when you are providing for bonus, the entry you will pass is bonus account debit to bonus payable. On 31st March, you pass this entry, my dear friends. On 31st March, you pass this entry. You are not writing bonus to bonus payable to TDS. When the bonus gets paid, which can be before Diwali, when the bonus gets paid, at that time only you will deduct tax, because the provision says that tax is liable to be deducted either at the time of credit or at that, for 192, tax is liable to be deducted only at the time of payment. An assessing officer argued in a famous case law, City Court, now that company's name has changed a lot, that it is a drafting error by the draftman when all other sections are saying either at the time of payment or at the time of credit, whichever is earlier. This section alone need not say it is at the time of payment. So it is a drafting error. The court said no, there is a reason behind this, and said literal construction. If plain reading is sufficient to understand, when you read it at the time of payment, why are you interpreting? Interpretation comes only if there is ambiguity. When there is no ambiguity, when clarity prevails, for the sake of interpretation, don't interpret it. Literal construction is one of the main principles of it. Harmonious construction. Harmonious construction. What does this mean? When a particular aspect is spoken at various places, ensure all places are given effect to. Ensure all places are given effect to. The law speaks in parts. Well, for harmonious construction, there is one popular example, very popular example, annual general meeting. Company law has three different provisions for conducting annual general meeting. AGM has to be conducted every calendar year. So between Jan to December, once you should have conducted. AGM has to be conducted within 6 months from the end of the balance sheet date. All balance sheet dates are now synchronized. It is 31st March. AGM, the gap between two AGMs should not exceed 15 months. Three provisions. Now let us start interpreting. Suppose in 2024, August 2024, I conducted an annual general meeting. In 2025, I have to conduct once, which can be conducted before November, because August 15 months gap can be taken. So November. But unfortunately, if I conduct the annual general meeting in October or November, I will fulfill the first and the third condition, but not fulfill the second condition. What is that? I would have had an annual general meeting in this calendar year 2025, and the gap will be less than 15 months, but it will be beyond the 6 months. So what the law says, by conducting the meeting in September, if you can fulfill the various provisions which are specified at various places, do it. Harmonious. Are you understanding? Harmonious construction. If various parts are specified, by conducting the meeting in September, all the three conditions within the calendar year, within 6 months, and the gap is not 15 months. Harmonious. This is the most popular example you will study for harmonious construction. Though I'm always passionate about tax law. I'm always passionate about direct taxation. Not paying, but teaching, sharing my knowledge. My dear friends, it is also beyond the preliminary understanding which I promised you 60 plus. Our classrooms are to give you one, the most required confidence. It is not lack of preparation alone that makes a student to feel low. It is lack of confidence that he has prepared well. That many times is more dangerous. Lack of confidence. My duty is to instill that confidence. These classrooms, that's why I said wait till I hit this particular point called assessment of companies. From there, your confidence will double. From there, I am very optimistic that your confidence will double. God's grace. Okay. Now coming to the agendas. Apart from 60 plus, I want you to enjoy the subject. Understand the subject, because as I said, this subject is going to travel with you. It is going to travel with you. Tax is always an integral part of our life. Tomorrow, even if you are quitting your accounting career and starting studying, I will go back to my schools and do NEET. Even that tax will be integral part. Accounts might not be, FM might not be, other subjects might not be, tax will be your integral part. And I'm very passionate about this subject. So, apart from making you enjoy the subject, What is my passion? I want to translate it into your passion also, so that you are able to appreciate, enjoy, understand the subject in a very grandeur manner. Okay. So coming back. So for harmonious construction, is there an example under income tax law? Well, there are multiple examples. One, I can take it up and tell you. My dear friends, we all know about this budgets and budget presentation that happens. Please understand that the finance minister is the one who reads the budget. Okay, and the finance minister's speech is very important. I'll speak about it very soon. The then finance minister who introduced this provision of additional depreciation said, if you are a manufacturing entity, then you can claim 20% additional depreciation for plant and machinery used directly or indirectly in the process of manufacturing. We are going to study these things. Don't worry. I'm just giving you a tip of the iceberg. So, if you are a manufacturing entity, additional depreciation will be 20%. If for the plant and machinery purchased and put to use for manufacturing purposes. But where the asset is used for less than 180 days, it is only 10%. Why? Because income tax law says finance minister does not take. Finance minister said, if you are a manufacturing entity, you will get 20% additional depreciation. But this is finance minister's speech. This is Income Tax Act, which says where an asset is put to use for a period of less than 180 days, half of the eligible depreciation only can be claimed. Where an asset is put to use for less than 180 days, half of the eligible depreciation can only be claimed. So, if I purchase an asset and use it for less than 180 days, the finance minister said 20%. XJ Forgings, Forgings, a very famous company, purchased a machinery in the month of November, so that year, less than 180 days, and claimed 20%. And said, the finance minister in his budget speech promised me 20%. Income tax law is denying me. Income tax department and the assessing officer argued, boss, no doubt the finance minister said 20%, but that is the rate which the finance minister has said. Finance minister, what he said is only the rate. If you interpret it in income tax law, it says if I am using an asset for less than 180 days, I am only eligible for half of the eligible depreciation. What finance minister says is eligible depreciation, you will only get 10%. Who is right? One side finance minister's speech, another side assessing officer is right in saying that. Can we ignore the finance minister's speech? Officially not. So, harmonious construction. The courts took a stand. Respect the finance minister's speech. Also, respect the income tax act provision. And court gave a judgment which became a law later. As I told, I'll speak about this in section 32 again, where only 10% is claimed in the first year because you have put the asset into use for less than 180 days. The balance 10% can be claimed in the immediate succeeding year, provided assessee is following the concessional tax regime, etc. So, what happened? What is the biggest change? If you are claiming additional depreciation of 10% this year, claim the next 10% in the subsequent year, so that the finance minister's speech is also given effect to and the law is also not changing. The interpretation stands. Harmonious construction. So you will understand two things. One, income tax example of harmonious may not be within the same law. In AGM, it is within the same law. But whereas here, finance minister's speech versus act provision, harmonious construction. Like this, many other acts might also be there. When we do trust, I will explain you more about harmonious construction. Taking trust law, taking FEMA law, taking other laws, and also drafting the income tax provision. Harmonious construction. The next item I want to speak about is ejusdem generis. Ejusdem generis. Okay, it is a Latin term. Ejusdem generis. General words may be understood, okay, by applying the same things of preceding words. General words. The most popular general word is etc. etc. Okay. In our life, the most often used word or includes etc. What is the meaning of etc.? Lion, tiger, elephant, etc. Or I can even write lion, tiger, elephant, and other animals. Will you give the example of cat? You won't. Because lion, tiger, elephant constitute wild animals. You would have given an example of cheetah, bear, fox, like that. General words and other animals or etc. will partake the character or apply the same meaning of preceding word. Will apply the same meaning of preceding words. Okay, just take the same meaning of preceding words. Okay, come back to, if I say car, aeroplane, train, etc., you will give that etc. as moving vehicles, lorries, buses, jet, metros, like that. Preceding words. Do you understand? Yeah. Coming back to this, okay, do we have an income tax example for it? Yes, my dear friends, there is a section called section 2, subsection 22, clause E, which is deemed dividend. Which is deemed dividend. What does that provision says? Any loan or advance given by a closely held company to a substantial interest holder. I will teach this elaborately in IFO. Yes, it's an important area. But as of now, if I am a private limited company, we all know about private limited company. The directors, shareholders will be husband and wife. brothers, father and son, close friends, like that. If they take that money out as salaries, it is taxable in their hands. If they take out money as dividend, it is taxable in their hands. So what they do is they take it as low. They take it as low. Loan is not an income, not taxable, and never repay. As I said, I will come back to this provision later. In this provision, the wording used is loan or advance. What is advance here? If there is a contract, if there is a transaction between holding company and subsidiary company, I will later look into a case law when we come to 222E, Ambassador Tours and Travels. What are they doing? They are the one who conduct all India tour for many for foreigners. Like how in India we have 15 days visit to Europe, 10 days package to Japan, 3 days, 4 nights, or 3 nights, 4 days for Dubai. Like that, there are Thomas Cook, like that. Many organizations conduct overseas tour program. Like this, for foreigners to come to India, Ambassador Tours and Travel. So they collected money from the foreigners. Visit India program. This Ambassador Tours and Travels is a subsidiary company of a hotel, bigger hotel. Ambassador Tours and Travels gave advance to that hotel saying that, look, my people are coming, book these rooms. Assessing officer said, boss, it is taxable as deemed dividend because holding company holds and they received advance. It is taxable as holding company. It is taxable as deemed dividend. Court said, no, boss, no. Advance in the nature of doing trade is never dealt with in this section. Yajustam generis. Advance which takes the character of loan. To a director, I give some advance. That is covered here. That is covered here. Yajustam generis. Advance which takes the character of loan can only be covered. General trade advance. I am a debtor creditor transaction. I always have a debtor creditor transaction with them. In those cases, it will not be covered here. Am I clear to you? Okay. Yajustam generis. Beneficial construction, where two views are possible in a particular provision. That is, there is lack of clarity. Okay. Make it clear. Where multiple views are possible for interpretation. Normally, this is a very, very constant rule. Beneficial construction is very, very popular. Let us take, for example, that an assessee has house 1, house 2, house 3 as self-occupation. House 1, house 2, house 3 as self-occupation. We all know that benefit of self-occupation will be only for two houses. Third house will be treated as deemed to be let out. In other words, the third house will be taxable. In other words, the third house will become taxable. In the other words, the third house will become taxable. And I tell you that the house 1 is 40,000. If I take the municipal value and compute the income, this is 70, this is 80. What you will say is, let this be self-occupied, this be self-occupied, this will be let out. Why? Quite simple. The income is lesser there. Did the law say that? Did the law say that any income which is lesser only should be deemed to be let out? No. The law did not say anything. Two views are possible. Assessing officer might take the view, no, house 1 and house 2 are self-occupied, so pay tax for the 80,000. Not possible. Law has not said that also. When the law is ambiguous or left it open, that which benefits the assessee should only be considered. Should only be considered. Beneficial construction. Like this, I can go on give you the examples. In many places, section 54 says, if your gross LTCG exceeds 2 crores, you can claim exemption for only one house property. Let us take that my gross LTCG is 3 crores. I have purchased the two houses. House 1 is 1.8 crores. House 2 is 1.2 crores. Which one will I get the exemption? Law is not specified, whichever is less. Law said one house you can claim. Assessing officer say, you take 1.2 as the exemption, pay 1.8 as tax. For 1.8, pay tax. But assessee will say, I will take 1.8, that house as exemption, and for the remaining 3 minus 1.8, I will 1.2, I will pay tax. I am right. When there are two opinions, two views, or where the law is not very clear, beneficial construction, that which benefits the assessee, should be given effect to. Mischief rule, which is also popularly called as Hayden's law. Mischief rule, which is also popularly known as Hayden's law. What is mischief rule to do with? My dear friends, the term mischief rule is just saying that where there is an amendment, then it needs to be understood like this. What was the law before amendment? What is the intention of amendment? And what is the law after amendment? Friends, a law gets amended due to some reason. What was the reason prevailing before? What is the intention? What they want to iron it out, and what it is after the amendment. Don't be mischievous. That's what the law says. Okay, mischievous. The remedy should be understood clearly. Is income tax disallowed while computing PGBP? Yes, income tax is not an allowable expenditure. Income tax is not an allowable expenditure, so it is disallowed. Good. Is surcharge and HEC also disallowed? The law was silent. So people were saying only income tax is disallowed, surcharge is computed on income tax. It is tax on tax. HEC is computed on tax plus surcharge if applicable. But we were saying rule of mischief. When the law says income tax is disallowed, all parts of income tax, by whatever name called, the law was amended with a retrospective effect, saying that no, even surcharge and HEC is very much an integral part of income tax and it should be disallowed. Do you understand? Do you understand? These are considered as literal, these are considered as interpretation at the front level. See, I'm only giving you a rough idea. As the class goes by, then and there I'll give you, this is literal construction, this is harmonious construction, this is the beneficial construction, so that you will be able to appreciate that instead of teaching it as a separate, this is for a law, it is correct to teaching it separately. But for a tax law, the way we have to understand this is very different. We will, as the section goes. Now I am giving you a bird's eye view of these things. My dear friends, how to study law by itself becomes important. Okay. The next arena that we are going to go is aids of in wait and write. I'll tell you how to write this. Aids of interpretation. Aids of interpretation under that two falling branches. Under that two falling branches. Aids of interpretation under that two falling branches. Okay. Internal aid, external aid. My dear friends, okay, under the two falling branches, internal aid and external aid. Internal, within the law. You need not go out of Income Tax Act. Part and parcel of the law. External, outside the income tax law. The best and the first thing is marginal notes. Have you all studied it? Seen Income Tax Act? Huh? Right? Not only Income Tax Act, any act, but let's confine to Income Tax Act. In every page, after the law is written, there will be a line. Under that, many things are written. You take the law, take a page, you will see the law. And then there is a line. After that, there are some things written. Marginal notes. Marginal notes, which is important to understand. Okay. It gives an idea as to how law has changed over years. It tells you the history of that. Previously, these types of words are used. After that, this is changed to this. The history of this particular provision is there. as marginal nodes in this particular aspect. Am I clear to you? Am I clear to you? Okay. Marginal nodes is the first thing, first interlink. Preamble. Preface. Preface. If you think only law has preamble, you are wrong. Every section has preamble. Every section, they will say why I wrote this particular section. Every section has preamble. To err is human. Giving an opportunity to correct the error is divine and it affects law. Giving an opportunity to correct the error is part of income tax law. So came the provision called the revise the return. In my original return, I have made some errors or omission. I identify it as later. So file a revise the return. I know you are all not using it for like that, but generally. Everywhere it is possible. Okay. Every preamble is there for every section, not for law alone. Every section, I can tell you when we discuss what was the intention. There is a memorandum which will be released after every budget. Whenever there is an amendment or new insertion, that memorandum will tell why we are introducing this. There were a lot of public opinion that was garnered for this. There was a small mistake in this interpretation. To make it more clear, to remove the difficulties, I am introducing this particular provision even for a proviso. Proviso means which comes within the law. Provided, further provided, even for a proviso, there are preamble. Preamble is part and parcel of every non-obstantive clause. They use the word notwithstanding, which means it will have a overriding effect. It will have a overriding effect, notwithstanding. Notwithstanding anything contained under 30 to 37, which means this section is going to overrule section 30 to 37. In law, there are two types of wordings which gets enormous importance. Section is superior, section is subordinate. A section is superior to another section, notwithstanding. Whatever he says, don't listen, I am superior, notwithstanding. Whatever I say is depending upon his approval. I am a subordinate section, subject to. Bonus or commission is allowed as deduction, subject to 43B. It should be paid within the due date of filing return. 40A3, cash payments are not allowed. notwithstanding anything contained under 30 to 37, which means I'm overruling. Even they say that it will be allowed, but if you have paid it in cash, it will be disallowed. That will give you an enormous idea about reading law. Now come to external aid. First and best, finance minister speech. I told you the importance even while interpretation of statute of harmonious construction. Where our income tax law has not defined a particular aspect, then take the definition from other statutes. From other statutes. For example, sale is best defined in Sale of Goods Act. So many law will say as per Sale of Goods Act. Foreign exchange is best defined in FEMA. Many laws will say look for FEMAs as per this definition. Popular. Okay. Okay. Then the dictionary meaning can be taken. This is also a aid of interpretation. That is, dictionary can also become an aid of interpretation. Have I cleared to you? Okay. Okay. And when I am speaking about aids of interpretation, I am going to end this introduction part of how to read law with a particular aspect called three important terminologies. Three important terminologies, words. That's what I am going to talk about. Okay. Three important terminologies. Again, you will write it. I am doing it as a box. Don't think it is a box. It is a tree diagram, falling branches. Because I'm unable to get that exactly fitting into this. So I am doing it as box. Three important terminologies. Shall, may, deemed. These three things you need to understand. What is the meaning of shall, may, and deemed needs to be understood. Mandatory. He shall. Mandatory. You don't have the option to interpret it otherwise. Mandatory. Shall means mandatory. Wherever a person who has earned income shall file his return. Mandatory. Shall is mandatory. May, optional, which means may or may not. Deemed. Whenever we use the word deemed, supposed to be. The word deemed means supposed to be. Okay. Deemed ownership. supposed to be the owner, deemed dividend, supposed to be dividend, deemed income, supposed to be an income. Ease of understanding, supposed to be. Am I clear to you? Am I clear to you? Okay. These are all the interpretations which are very essential for learning law. Income tax is also law. Please understand. Income tax, we are looking at it from the practical perspective. No, income tax is a law. Law of income tax. It's like any other law. Unless we know law, we cannot proceed. As I said, it is not here. As the class goes by, we will keep on adding more so that when I come back and do it, you will be more clear. The part 2 of the introduction is study of income tax. Give me a small break. I'll come back and do it. Friends, let's enter into the part 2 of our discussion as I said, the study of income tax. The study of income tax. Well, as I said, the study of income tax is spread around 4 aspects. The study of income tax is spread around 4 aspects, and as I told you, my dear friends, please do it as a chart, though I am doing it as a table. It's a chart. Income Tax Act 1961, income tax rules, circulars and notifications, and also judgments. Okay, these are going to be our study of income tax, the 4 study aspects. Friends, when I write Income Tax Act 1961, I had a smile in me, also a small lump in my throat. Probably you are the last batch which is studying Income Tax Act 1961. Having taught the subject for more than 2 decades or more than 25 years, my association and emotion with this subject, with this law, is greater. That when I know that this is going to be scrapped, I feel the lump in my throat. But being a teacher, being a person, knowledge sharer, I always want to learn new things, new aspects. So when I am knowing that this particular law is going to go and a new code comes into, there is a lot to study. So that gives me the smile, but the emotion gives me the feeling. Now coming back. Income Tax Act 1961. It talks about computation of income. You all know computation of income, exemptions, deductions, special provisions like capital gains, taxation, transfer pricing, TDS. Okay. Administrative aspects. Penalties and prosecutions. These are part of income tax law. Income Tax Act talks about all these things. Okay. I'm not going into 298 section, 14 chapters. You all know it is divided into chapters. What is a chapter? A chapter is similar things are grouped together. Similar aspects are grouped together. TDS is a chapter, though there are so many things. A chapter can sometimes have multiple things, or a chapter can have even only one section. A chapter can have multiple sections. Chapter 4 is income. There are 5 heads of income, but income is only one chapter. You know it's chapter 4 because you know chapter 6A is deduction. So after that, clubbing is there, set off is there, deduction. 5, 6, 6A. So there is only one chapter which speaks about income. Chapter means consolidation. So I'm not going into any we are going to study. Just broader understand. What is income tax rule? Procedural compliance of law is ensured and specified in rules. Income tax law under section 139 will say file your income tax return. What is that income tax return? What contents should be given in the income tax return? What are all the various aspects which should be specified in the return? Rules. Law will say get the certificate of a chartered accountant to claim this exemption or deduction. What is that certificate? What should be the content of the certificate? What should be mentioned in the certificate? Rules. Law under 44 AB says the chartered accountant should give his report under Form 3CA and 3CB along with the annexure of Form 3CD. What is that? The list of questionnaires which the auditor has to answer. Many times after becoming a chartered accountant, you will feel that it is better as a student I answered lesser questions. After becoming a chartered accountant, I am answering more questions, that too not because of me, for my Form 3CD is a questionnaire. It's there in rules, Form 3CD. So, procedural compliance of law. What is circular? What is not? We all know issuing authority is CBDT. Issuing authority is CBDT. Circulars are internal document. Only binds the department. Only binds the department. If CBDT issues a circular, it's not for you and me. It's only for the department. Whereas notification are generic. It binds the department and assessment. Okay. In section 119, when we read that section, I will again tell you the power is there to issue circulars and notifications. Judgments. Judgments of Supreme Court. Partakes means equivalent to that character of law, as if it is written in law. Judgments of the Supreme Court is equal to, if Supreme Court pronounces a judgment, it is as if it is written in law. You have to abide by it unless the lawmaker changes it. What about High Court, sir? High Court validity is for that jurisdiction. High Court, and appellate tribunals or jurisdiction based. Okay, High Court and appellate tribunals are jurisdiction based. Jurisdiction based only for that jurisdiction. Assessee falling within that, if Madras High Court gives a judgment, all assessees who are falling under the Madras High Court jurisdiction need to abide by it. But a Bombay-based person need not abide by it. Can refer. That is different. But it is jurisdiction. Supreme Court gives a judgment, it is. Okay, I'm just giving you a bird's eye view of these things. My dear friends, these two things, that is income tax, okay, these two things are known as subordinate legislation. Which means it is given to another body to make it. These two things are known as subordinate legislation. These two things are known as subordinate legislations, applicable only because Parliament's time is superior. These are given to CBDT. CBDT can give you notification. You don't need the Parliament's permission. Okay, so CBDT can do that. That's why it is known as subordinate legislation. I'm not talking very brief. I'm not talking elaborate. I'm very briefly telling you because we are going to study this again. It's not an examination question. My classes are also towards focusing on your examination because I don't want to fill you with something which is not examination oriented. Now comes the next aspect called what is Finance Act. Any change to Income Tax Act will be done via Finance Bill, and once the bill is passed and the President gives consent for it, it becomes Act. Are you understanding? Repeating. Finance Act, budget, or other amendments proposed to income tax law, Income Tax Act, okay. Budget is a finance, okay, which is approved by both houses and given assent by President. Becomes Act. So, what is Finance Act? Finance Act is nothing but budget. Suppose budget presented in the Parliament on 1st of February every year, the Finance Minister in the morning 10 o'clock presents, reads the budget. That is known as Finance Bill. And it is being discussed for next few days. After discussion, both houses, don't ask me whether discussion is happening. I'm only theoretically telling. Both houses passes it. Once you pass it, it becomes an act. Once you pass it and give the President gives the consent, it becomes an act. So all amendments in the Income Tax Act should pass through this route only. That's why this subordinate legislation becomes important, because these things don't require the permission of the Parliament to issue small notification. A notification circular rule cannot overrule Act. They are all subordinate to act. So these are given to a body of CBDT, which need not have any consent as such. For example, your GST is full of subordinate legislation. CBEC, they are not discussed on budget. Did the rate change happen via budget? No, because everything is uh, handed over to the subordinate authorities, fine, which is approved by and president. Now, this Finance Act has part 1, part 2, part 3, which tells you along with agricultural income, rates of income tax, TDS, like that. We will not go detailed into it because we are going to study all these things. But Finance Act makes changes to the income tax. Am I clear to you? Okay. So we are going to study all these things as part of our law. Every law, there are some definitions and concepts which needs to be understood. And today we are going to understand one or two definitions and couple of concepts, definitions then and there. Every chapter wise we will understand and then see what it is. Okay. So I'm going into the next arena of our understanding, that is definitions and certain concepts. The first definition to understand is assessee, section 2, subsection 7. The first definition, most important definition to understand is, because I want to just ask you, are you an assessee? Are you an assessee? Assessee, you might even have PAN. Assessee is one who is liable to pay tax. Okay, what is this terminology assessee means? What is this terminology assessee means? From whom any tax or any other sum of money is due under this law. If I am earning less than 2,50,000, I'm not an assessee, because my basic exemption limit is 2,50,000. Having said that, I am not liable to pay tax, but I am liable to pay some interest or penalty due to some default. I am liable to pay the tax that I have deducted at source. I become an assessee. Any tax or any other sum due under this law. Okay. A person against whom proceedings are initiated. Suppose if you get a notice, you are an assessee. The notice might even be wrongly served on you because they thought that you are a different person and served it on you. But now, having got the notice, having the proceedings getting initiated, you become an assessee. Representative. For a firm, the partners are representative associates, because firm is not a separate legal entity in its fullest context. We will see that when we do assessment of firm. For a non-resident, agent of the non-resident is a representative associate. If a person dies after earning income, the legal heir becomes a representative associate of the deceased person. For a minor, his parents becomes representative assessing. Representing. Okay. A person who is liable for refund is also an assessee. Interesting. My income is less than 2,50,000, but somebody has deducted tax for me. I need to get this refunded. I need to file my income tax return, otherwise refund will not be granted. So I become an assessee. A person who is liable for refund is also an assessee. Is also an assessee. And assessee includes assessee in default. About this we will speak. If you are not abiding by any provision, then you are known as an assessee in default. He is also known as assessee. Okay, because we have been going to use this term assessee, 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 assessee continuously. I want you to understand who is an assessee. Income tax is on every person. The next terminology to understand is, what is this person? Individual, Hindu undivided family, company, individual, companies, firm, including LLP, firm, including LLP, association of persons, or body of individuals, AOP or BOI, local authority, government organization, artificial juristic person, artificial juristic person. Individual normal human beings, family organizations, Hindu undivided family, companies, firms, joint ventures, body of individuals, persons who are there because law has mandated. Mr. A dies, writing a will that his son B and C will together enjoy his property. Are they voluntarily doing it? Body of individuals. Local authority, government organization, and AJP, artificial juristic persons, trust, societies. Okay. My dear friends, my dear friends, I'm not going into income now. Income is a very bigger definition in our law. You can see. What I will do is, after we complete the assessments of various entities, we'll come and tick in this whether all incomes I have understood. At that time, you will be able to appreciate this better. So let us not go into income as of now, but I assure you, I will come back and tick every item. You will feel happy if I do that. But you will feel that we have covered so much. So, apart from assessee and person, all other definitions we will cover as and when. The term assessment means verification. Verification. Why I am telling you is I am going to a concept now, previous year and assessment year. Previous year and assessment year. My dear friends, okay, income earning year is the previous year. The year in which I earn the income. Suppose today, 2nd October 2025, I get a lottery winning. Year means financial year. So, my financial year is 25-26 because October 25, 2nd October 2025 falls between 1st April 25 to 31st March. Income earning year is the previous year. The year that immediately succeeds is known as assessment year. Okay. Under the DTC, this previous year word goes off and tax year comes. They no more call it, it's a financial year only still, and it is not known as previous year, it is known as tax year. But overall, income earning year and the year that succeeds is known as the previous year. Okay, this I am writing. You can also write and keep the provisions of Finance Act 2025, that is FY 25-26, is covered in our classroom. We are going to cover the provisions of Finance Act 25-26. We are going to cover the provisions of Finance Act 25-26. This is previous year and assessment year. Am I clear? Am I clear? Okay. I'm going to now progress to something which is interesting to understand, interpret, and progress. What is income? My dear friends, you go and withdraw money from your bank account. Is it income? Your father gives you some money for spending. Is it income? Your auditor pays stipend. Well, is he paying, sir? That is different. Income should come from an external source. Repeat. Income should come from an external source. One cannot earn income from himself. Fundamental philosophy, income should come from an external source. Concept of mutual concern. Concept of mutual concern. What is that? There are three criteria which mentions What is mutual concern? There are three criteria which mentions what is a mutual concern. Members contribute, money is spent for common purpose of members, surplus, if any, is available for distribution to members. If these three criteria are fulfilled, it becomes a mutual concern. Shall I repeat? Members contribute. Your resident welfare association, Appasamy Towers, Tidal Park, though commercial organization. Suppose let's take an apartment is there where there are 50 houses. They form a residence association. Everybody should contribute towards maintenance 2,000 rupees per month. 1 lakh. Why? For what purpose? Cleaning the common area, maintenance of lift, maintenance of the common area, maintenance of swimming pool, maintenance of club. Watchman. The watchman has to be paid salary on the first of every month. I cannot tell the watchman, or we cannot expect the watchman to go and tap every house. Say, pay me 500 rupees because all of you paying me 500 will make my salary. Lift maintenance, 3,000 rupees. I cannot ask him to go to and tap every house and say 30 rupees collect from them. No. Throwing examples. So, members themselves contribute. They spend for the common purpose. And for that contribution, they want an account. They want a name. Appasamy Towers Welfare Association. Auto stand Ayuda Puja. Every automan contribute 1,000 rupees. 20 autos are there, 20,000 rupees. They contribute. They buy flowers, they buy fruits, they buy vegetables, they buy sweets, they donate something. Whatever is the surplus, they distribute among themselves. Mutual concern. It's not income. It is a facilitation entity. It is just a facilitation entity. They are not earning any income. It is member who contribute. Instead of putting 30 rupees daily to the liftman, watchman, etc., I contribute towards it. Members contribute. Money is not spent for anything else except for the members. And surplus, if any, is available for distribution to members. Is ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, a mutual concern? No. Why, sir? No. Not only members, students also contribute. And the surplus is not available for members. Otherwise, nobody will practice. That surplus itself is surplus. Mutual concern. Okay. So, if these three conditions are fulfilled, then for the collecting / spending entity, income does not arise because it is not at all income. It becomes a mutual concern. However, if income accrues from a non-member, oh, sir, in the apartment, 100 members are there, 100 families are there. In the roof of the apartment is used by Airtel for erecting their tower. Non-member. The apartment swimming pool is used by non-member by paying 100 rupees per hour. The apartment clubhouse is used by a non-member to conduct a function by paying 10,000 rupees. If income accrues from a non-member or money is spent otherwise than for members, then such portion is taxable. Then such portion is taxable. Am I clear to you? Then such portion becomes taxable. Non-member, if they pay. In this came interesting case law, which marks the beginning of our case law journeys also, which marks the beginning of our case laws journey also. Let us take that the ground floor of my apartment is occupied by State Bank of India. They are the owners of the ground floor, so they become the member. They contribute subscription. Is it taxable? No, because members' contribution is not taxable. All the members contribute. No, I am depositing it in that State Bank, in the bank which is there in the ground floor. They are also member. They are giving me interest. Is that taxable? Huh? Yes. Yes. Reason, this is not as a member, what they give is subscription. Apart from member, whatever they give is not subscription, it is an income. Friends, so the interest was not paid by the bank in the capacity of a member, but as a part of business. Okay. Second, there are bad. Okay. Club. Second from bad. Club. Okay. And remember, this is a Supreme Court pronouncement. Okay. Remember, this is a Supreme Court pronouncement. Okay. Where the lawmakers said, okay, where a person contributes as member, that is known as subscription, etc., the same will pass the test of mutuality. The same will pass the test of mutuality. Okay, the same will pass the test of mutuality. Income earned on FD, fixed deposit, with the member bank, okay, will not be, okay, will not be falling under principle of mutuality, as the nature of income is different and it will be taxable as any other income. Similarly, any money earned from non-member will also be taxable as income. It's a Supreme Court pronouncement. Okay. Principle of mutuality. Members contribute. Money is spent for the common purpose of members, and surplus, whatever is available, is utilized for the members. Then I accept that these are not taxable. Okay. So it is not an income. Otherwise, as I said, income, let me go every chapter and make you understand all forms of income, so that at the end of it, you are more clear about what is an income. Before understanding the law, let me also make you understand, because this is common to, previously it was only there in PGBP. Now whole of law, starting from the first to the end, we will be studying this. Modes of payment. Modes of payment. There are some approved modes of payment. There are some not approved modes of payment. So I want you to understand, okay, that in detail. As I told you, I am going to write it as text boxes, but you will draw it as a diagram. You will draw it as a diagram. Two falling branches. This is not only in 40A3, in many other sections, this is going to be useful for this, for us. Approved modes of payment. Approved modes of payment. The law does not use the word unapproved modes, otherwise than by approved modes. Okay, so we colloquially say unapproved modes. Okay, this is easier to fill. So first we'll start this. Cash, barrel check, cross the check. This is easier to understand. Cash, barrel check, cross the check are unapproved modes of payment, otherwise than by approved modes. Okay, what are all the approved modes? Account payee check or draft. Okay, net banking, NEFT or RTGS, debit, credit, rupee, beam, payments, IMPS, immediate payment services. Okay, UPI, that is unified payments system or interface, unified payment interface. These are known as approved modes. Majority of the time in the law, this is not allowed. Purchase of asset in section 32, expenditure in 35 AD, 40 A3, determination of stamp value under section 56. Till 269, yes, loan or advance, paid, repaid. This is important. This is going to travel all through in our law. That's why at the interaction level itself, I want to address that. The modes of payment. Are you clear? These are all the modes of payment. With this, we put a comma, not a full stop. We put a comma for the classes, the class today, introduction. We will start with the rates of taxation in the next class. I want you to understand the rates and then go into PGP. Meet you in the next class. All the best.